video.
Very good. Eric?
Eric Sebastian, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Probably somewhere around maybe a 3 or a 4. I've kind of played around with Elementor for maybe a month or so, built some test websites, just looking to learn more.
Excellent. Barry?
Barry Sardis, San Jose, California. I've got a site that I've done a little bit with it, so maybe a 3. Did a home page of it, but I have terrible design skills, so no design skills.
And Gary?
Greetings, everyone. Gary Garcher here, San Jose, California. I've got it installed. I've got the latest one installed, and I clicked a few buttons, but my proficiency is, I hate to say 0. Let's say 1 or a 2.
Karen?
I'm actually from Michigan, and I've been doing this for a year, but feel like I'm still a newbie, particularly on dealing with the sizing for the different devices. So I'm looking forward to your presentation.
In the right place. Larry?
Yeah, Larry Israel, Santa Cruz, California. I have not used Elementor at all. Did your intro meetup about a month ago, and have not used it, just kind of trying to determine if it's something I want to use and how I would use it.
Okay. Barbette?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Barbette. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm probably a 4 with Elementor. I've been dabbling at it for about maybe 6 months.
Okay.
I think it rolled out in November or December, so it's since about then. Most of my learning has been through online tutorials on YouTube, and yeah,
There's a lot
just
on
kick
YouTube.
it.
Yeah, good.
It's cool. Sorry.
Bill?
Yeah, Bill Smith. I'm in San Jose, and I'm probably, like Barbette, I'm probably a 4. I work as the head of marketing for a very early stage startup, and used Elementor to put together the company's website. So, and it looks halfway decent. So there you
go. Dave.
Hi from Los Gatos, California. I've got a membership site active with several Elementor pages in addition to the theme that runs the rest of the site. But and I've managed to drag 50 widgets to those pages and get videos and forms working. So what does that put me at, a 3?
There you go. Eric? You're muted, Eric. We'll move on. Carl?
Hi, Carl Smith from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. You came to visit our meetup last month, and I just downloaded it since then, so I'm at a 1.
Very good. Catherine?
Hey there, I'm Catherine. I am from South Carolina, and I'm late, so I don't know what the question is, but if you're asking about who I am and how I work with Elementor, I've been working with Elementor for about 3 years, and I'm a freelancer.
Very good. Lloyd?
Hi, I'm Lloyd Mentel. I'm from the Netherlands in Europe. Yeah, it's quite late here. Yeah, I've been using Elementor now for, I think, about 6 months. And yeah, I used to use Enfold theme. And I'm starting to migrate all my websites that I built in Enfold. I'm migrating them using Elementor at the moment. So I'm about a 3, I think.
Very good. Mark?
Well, hi there. I'm from Sonoma County, California. And I'd say I'm about a 2. I've been developing WordPress since near the beginning of WordPress, but very new to Elementor. I'm working on 2 personal sites, kind of building them up in Elementor to see how that goes. And so I'm very much looking forward to today.
Great. Nora.
Hi, I'm from Oregon. I'm somewhere between a 2 and a 3. I've been dabbling in it for about a year and have a couple of pages up on a website.
Good. Senwana.
Hi, this is Sanjana, and I'm from Portland, Oregon as well. And I've been dabbling in Elementor for about a year, off and on, because I'm actually a designer, and I work for civil engineering company, but it's mostly print design, and I wanted to get into web design on my own. And the company doesn't support me, so I'm doing it on my own on the side. And so I started with I'm a photographer as well. And so I'm building my photography website, and I think I shared it last time we were there, and it's getting there. So design takes like precedence than, the site. So it's sometimes frustrating and sometimes it's okay. I'm like, why can't it do that? So, but Elementor has made it really simple. So I'm really enjoying it. So I'm eager to learn more. My level, probably, I want to say at least like Nora, 2 or 3. I don't spend a lot of time because I have my photography really busy and videos and whatnot. So I've got my hands in a lot of things.
Good.
But it's been fun.
Sue, long time no see.
Long time no see. My name's Sue Felinski. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. We were in a meetup together last night. With my agency has been developed, well, it's 22 years old. We've been developing websites for a while. If I added up all my folks in their Elementor skill and the test site we're working on, we'd get close to a 9.5. But that would be adding up everybody. So what my job is to bring them what you show me and say, you can do this, you can do this. We've been doing it this way. Here's how you do it that way. So I'm just trying to soak up everything I can, which is why I ventured into Silicon Valley. And thank you all for doing this, for providing it for us.
Glad to have you. Last one. Sorry about the name. Exacti. I think they fell out. That's it. One more person. That's Kaya Vaughn. She's from, I met her at the Elementor Greenville, South Carolina. She's a seasoned developer and designer of WordPress sites. She's worked with numerous page builders besides Elementor. She's done e-commerce, membership sites, worked with advanced custom fields, Gravity forms, and ADA compliant websites. I'll turn over to Kaya.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody joining me this afternoon. I'm super excited to discuss some of these responsive features. Let me go ahead and get, it says that I am not able to share my screen.
Try it again. I just.
Let's see.
Working. I made you a host.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
So let's get started for why you're all here. Oops, sorry. Clicked the wrong thing. So today I will be discussing the responsive mode feature that is available in Elementor's theme builder. This is available in both the free and pro version. So if you already have a Elementor site built, these are some good tips and tricks that you can really utilize to kind of make your responsive sites a little cleaner and nicer. Or if you are a newbie and just kind of want to do a blank install, these are some really cool stuff that you can play around with and gives you kind of some ideas of how everything works and navigates. I know Greg already did a bit of an introduction on me, but just to give you a little bit of background on why you shouldn't even listen to anything I'm saying. My name is Kaya Vaughn. I've been a web developer for almost 8 years now. I absolutely just love WordPress. It's and Elementor, and Elementor has really just changed the game as far as, in my eyes, especially when it comes to responsive design. If you would like to, see any of my work, or maybe if you would just like a fellow nerd to geek out with on some of the cool Elementor features, you can visit my website, kayavon.com, and I would love to kind of connect with you and continue building our Elementor community. So let me get into the actual presentation while you're all here. We've all been there where we go onto our mobile phone and all of a sudden the screen is itty bitty. And it is basically the world's tiniest little website. And you have to zoom in or zoom out and go scroll to the side and to the left. And it really creates a very bad impression for any new potential clients coming to your website. Makes you look a little ancient and outdated. So especially in my field where I'm working on a lot of nonprofits or financial institutions, we see a lot of outdated websites that are just not mobile friendly. So my company is still fighting the good fight on trying to get our websites out there and mobile responsive and getting our clients out into the modern era. I also wanted to take a quick note before I get into the demonstration, just to talk real quick about the buzzwords of mobile first design. I feel like this has some misconception here that we are developing for the mobile screen size and then scaling upwards. And obviously we know that design and mobile first design is very prominent. This is how Google is going to take effect as to your search ranking and how people are going to perceive you. But I still am personally developing in a desktop and scaling downward for my tablet and mobile devices. The only thing that has really changed for myself as far as using Elementor's responsive feature is having a lot of thoughtful design and forethought whenever I'm designing responsively. So Elementor's responsive feature, it really is great at implementing this, where you're able to stay on one screen and really play around with how things are going to look visually in all screen sizes. So I'm really excited to start getting y'all into it. Let me change my tabs real quick so that y'all can see this right here.
If y'all have any questions, if you could leave them in the chat, and I'll interrupt Kai at that point.
Yes, please feel free to ask questions while I'm there and working on it. I would love to answer them as you have them. Today we're going to be discussing how to make a very clean navigation. A very popular feature is to have this top bar here where we have all of this information. And I have a very popular option that my clients like as far as keeping it very clean and neat but easily accessible. We also will discuss like some fine tuning that you can do as far as the actual navigation itself. And then we'll continue with talking about best practices as far as scaling images and text. We want to make sure that our above the fold content is staying above the fold on all devices, that we're not losing any of our the way that our users are consuming the information. We'll also talk about how columns are, how they'll naturally sort of stack on top of each other, and how we can arrange this and making sort of that judgment call for graphics and what we want to be seen on what devices. We'll kind of take both of these tools, the imagery best practices and the columns, and I'll show you how you can actually change what is consumed first by your users, whether it's content or it's graphics. So I can show you how you can do that per device. We'll also talk about background images. This is very popular, as you see this little graphic here off to the right. This is a very common thing you see in templates or modern design because it kind of gives it sort of like a scrapbook feel. So we'll talk about those options as well. And lastly, I'll also talk about an alternative option you can do for 3 columns. This is a very popular layout that we see, having the 3 columns, but whenever you are starting to scale it downwards, specifically for tablet, it will be very narrow and not very visually pleasing or hard to read. And then if you have it in mobile, it has a tendency to continue having a long scroll, which is just kind of tiresome for our end users. So I'll show you a alternative that you can do, and this will be using a premium add-on. It's called the Plus, which I can link into the Meetup comment, so then everyone will have access to that. It's also an Elementor approved add-on, so you can go to Elementor site under add-ons, and it is available there for you to purchase as well. It's one of my favorite plugin additions that I like to use. So let me get started here. Go to the top. So the reason why I chose a template today to show you how this alters is I feel like Elementor and templates kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. They're a great resource for if you just need to plug or play website and just need something quick and fast, or if you would just like to have some design inspiration and need to know how to configure something. These are great resource for you to use. The only issue that I have a lot with templates is that they kind of hearing that noise?
You're muted.
Oh. Okay. Is everyone hearing it fine?
Yeah, we're good. Tommy,
Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
some
You're
background.
good now.
Okay. Awesome. I will get back into it then. So, so the reason why I wanted to kind of show using a template is that a lot of them have a tendency to rely heavily on the Elementor's natural responsiveness. And what I mean by that is it will naturally take columns and stack them on top of each other. Or if you have a defined set pixel width on an image, it will, automatically downsize it. It won't be as clean and pretty as you would want, but I feel like a lot of templates rely on this. And so I'll kind of just want to show everyone how you can make these alterations to really clean it up and make it easy and consistent throughout all devices. So let's start off with something simple here. We're going to talk about images. So if we select this image here, you will see that we have under the Style tab, we have a set pixel width here. And we want to change this because whenever we're talking about scaling images in responsive design, we don't want to have a set pixel width. Pretty much we want to avoid set pixels on pretty much everything. A little fun fact is that pixels are actually not ADA compliant as far as like having a set pixel width. A lot of screen readers for users with disabilities need to have the ability to scale the website to their needs and preferences. So we try to always stick with percentages, M's or REMs. And one of the questions that I had last time I gave this presentation, I believe Greg was the one that asked it, is what is the difference between M's and REMs and what would be the purpose of it? And so I did a little research and did my homework before coming here. And what that is basically when you are using M's, it is going to inherit styles based on the parent element. So as we can see here, if we were to take this and change this to, I believe this is already at pixels, and we set it to M's, and we change it to, let's say 3, it is going to go based on the settings of CSS that we have for the parent element, which would be likely a div, in this case with Elementor. So that is one reason why you would want to use M's, is because it's a little more scalable. If you want to use REMs, it's going to go based on the root HTML element. So basically what you would have set in your for like your body styles, that's what it's going to pull from. So that's just one reason why we kind of like to use pixels and REMs whenever you're doing it. As far as which one to use is mainly preference, I guess, at that point, as to which one you're trying to style for as far as your sizes that you already have set. But that was just one thing I wanted to make sure I addressed, because I know we had those questions beforehand. So let's go here to the image, and we see that we have the 1000 pixels. So we're going to change this to 100%. Obviously, nothing much has changed, but we want to see how this is going to look on tablet. So the responsive mode feature, if you go to the bottom left of the pane, you'll see the little desktop icon. When you click that, you will have 3 options. You have desktop, tablet, and mobile. If you see here, there are also they have the sizes right here next to them. You have 768 and 360. These are how you're going to view the device in portrait mode. So as you can see here, when we click tablet, it's going to give you kind of like a nice little mock layout of a tablet here. And if you do it for mobile, it will do the same as well. It'll give you a little mobile device as far as portrait mode. You can actually change these if you would like. If you need to have a specific breakpoint that is different from what is already set as default, you can easily come here. I will share this. So in the back end of your site, you have Elementor settings, and then you will go to the style tab. All the way at the bottom, you will see that it has the tablet and mobile breakpoints already set. My only qualm with the responsive mode feature of Elementor is that these right here are set for landscape, whereas if you saw previously in the demo, it is made for portrait mode. So that's my only qualm that I have with it, is I wish that it was consistent on both sides, but you are able to define, so to say a client has a very specific tablet, or maybe there's a new device that comes out, you will be able to implement those styles, your mobile styles at this breakpoint, and you can set that per device. So let's go back to the demo here. So as you can see, when we come to tablet mode with our imagery, you can see that now the image is crazy huge and we can't see anything for below the fold normally like we would without having to scroll. So if you can see right here at the top with the width, we now have these little icons lit up, and they're the same 3 icons that were at the bottom here. That is an indicator to you whenever you see these that this is an option and gives you the ability to customize for your responsive device. So it'll allow you to know what is actually available to change and what is not. Also, if you see that there's no pixels set here, but it is set to be pixels. The reason why is that naturally the smaller screen is going to inherit the styles from the screen size above it. So tablet is going to inherit desktop styles that you set, and mobile is going to inherit the tablet styles you set. So if you don't set any of them and you just leave it for desktop, that's what's going to happen. As we can see here, it is set to 1,000 pixels even for in mobile view. So obviously we want to change these. We want to change this to, let's say, we'll make it 60% instead. So now we have changed this where the image is no longer taking up all of the space, and we can even adjust our font sizes and however we want to make it where the above the fold is now truly that on mobile device as well. And you can easily switch back and forth through the device sizes by just selecting the icon here, and it will show you. So we are going to change this here to 60% as well. So now we've changed our image sizing, and now our call to action and banner is now above the fold like it was originally without having to scroll. So now let's go back onto desktop mode. Does anybody have any questions about this so far as switching back and forth?
Catherine had a question. Can Elementor set more than mobile, tablet, and desktop breakpoints?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Catherine had a question whether we could have more than just the desktop, tablet, and mobile breakpoints, where you could introduce a 4th or a 5th. I think that's on their wish list.
Yeah, that so far is just on a wish list. It's not available, but that basically means that you would have to then do media queries, kind of go the old school way where you would have to add that into the CSS for specific sizes. But they are usually taking the very general sizes of tablet and mobile, the very stereotypical sizes that we see. So they do use the most average of sizes for you to choose from. Awesome. I will move on to the next part here. So as you can see, we have this little area here of great information. We have the 4 columns. We have our title, contact, hours, and a graphic. Now, when we make this go down smaller, we can see that things are just naturally stacking a little odd. And we have this little space here that's really just not necessary and taking up very valuable space, because every pixel is valuable when we have our website. So what we want to do is we want to adjust these column sizes. And Elementor, you are able to do this by selecting the column itself, by selecting this gray box at the top. And as you can see onto the left side, we have all these different options that we can choose from. So we can change the column width, whether it's vertical aligned, and you have all of these different options here, what type of horizontal alignment it has, and whether or not pixels percentage as far as spacing with the gaps of the actual columns themselves. So we're going to change this to 40, and this one to 40 as well. And then we're going to take this very last one and make it 20. So now we've just made it a lot easier and consistent as far as on tablet. It's still very similar to how it was on desktop. The only difference is now the title is above it. So we're still trying to keep the same visual and aspect of all of the content that we have here. So if we take this in mobile here, the column width, and we go down, mobile is naturally going to scale this on top of each other. So all of the columns are going to stack from left to right on top of each other. As you can see here, we have this is a little grayed out. The reason why this is grayed out is I have decided to hide this in mobile, because there are certain things, like specifically with this, if we were to trying to get the graphic to be right aligned with the open hours, it would create the hours to be really tiny, and it's just not, the graphic isn't much of a visual aid as to the content itself. It's great to get it a little more colorful and vibrant, but it's not adding to the content. So we're going to make a judgment call on this and say that it's not necessarily useful for our mobile design. So by doing this, what I'm going to do is you click the column itself here, and you go to Advanced, and you open up the tab Responsive. Now, as you can see, I have it hidden on mobile. If I unhide it, now it's in full color. The grayed out area is basically what lets you know that it is hidden. So you can have different things hidden on specific devices, and this will kind of give you an indicator on the back end as to what you're viewing and what is visible on the front end without having to go back and forth. Also, a little tip, if you notice that I actually hid the column itself, not the image. The reason why I'm doing this is because if you were to select the image and just hide the image itself, which is an available option to hide that, it will still say that there is an active column here. So even though there's nothing in that column, it will still show that there is a column available, and it will leave a little bit of extra spacing and padding there that's just natural from its styling. So to make sure we don't have that awkward pixels at the bottom or padding, we're going to hide the whole entire column instead of just the image. So we're going to go back and hide this here. So now we see that it's grayed out, but as soon as we go back into tablet, it's where it needs to be and in full color. So next, I'm going to show you on desktop, this little area here. So right here is a very stereotypical layout that we see in a lot of our page designs. We have a graphic on one side and content on the other. Sometimes whenever we are trying to design responsively, we want to determine what is being consumed first by our end users. Do we want the visual aid first, or do we want the content first? For this right here, we have the tablet set. And as you can see, I have the content switched. So originally the content was on the right side and the graphic was on the left, and naturally Elementor would stack it where the graphic is on top and then the content would be on the bottom. So you can actually adjust this, because we have this graphic here still. We kind of want to have, instead of graphic on top of each other, we kind of want to break this up and also have content here. So we're going to select the section that the two columns are in. We're going to go to Advanced and Responsive. And as you can see here, we now have a little bit more options. Sections are usually going to have more options as far as responsive styling. And right here, I have activated to reverse the columns in tablet mode only. So if we unselect that, we now have the cute dog picture above the content rather than below it. So now, as you can see, would have been, as the user is looking from left to right, it would have been, you know, content, content, graphic, graphic, and content. So now we kind of want to mix that up. So that's why we're going to have this here and switch this up. And then we can come back and change our image like we did previously to be a lot smaller and responsive. And that way we can make sure that in all devices, it is looking clean and how we want to. As you can see here, going into mobile view, the column as we had previously is still, you know, hidden from view on the front end. So for that, I decided to keep the image on top of the content to kind of give the user eyes a break from just reading it or it being too text heavy. So now we have our visual aid right here, and then we have our content. So that is how you can actually change and adapt to different screen sizes and change whether or not how you want it to be consumed by your end users.
Excuse me, Kaya, I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
On what you just did where you reversed 2 columns, well, can you do any kind of that if you have 3 columns? Or is that only good for 2 columns?
You can do it with 3 columns. The only difference is it's going to take, basically, instead of going from left to right, it's going to go from right to left. So then it would have so the middle column is always going to pretty much stay in the middle, but the left and right are going to change. So that's the only problem with the 3-column layout about having that, which is why I was going to show y'all an alternative for 3 columns. Later on, so then that way you kind of have an option as to how you would like to adjust that, because that is the one problem I have noticed with 3 columns is that the middle one is pretty much going to stay stationary.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So let's move on, unless anyone has any more questions about that. I will move on to the background image here. Now, this I absolutely love this design feature of these little fun design, little squares and squiggles. It really gives like a cool scrapbooking feel. And now, especially with the new additions that the Elementor Pro has, you can add motion animation to it so it can come in and swoop and move as you are scrolling. It's a really cool feature. But one of these things is naturally, it is not the most responsive. So remember when I said earlier that it will inherit the larger screen size, the size above it. So if we click here this section and we go to the Style tab, you can see that we have our image here and then its position is in the bottom right corner. And this is set to default, auto, and no repeat. Now, you also can see the little icons here. So this shows us what we are able to change responsively. So we actually can change this image here to be different on different devices. So let's go into tablet mode. So as you can see here, I set it up to top right. Now, if I had it set to default, which it normally is, it would stay into the bottom right from the desktop version. So obviously that's not going to work for our design on tablet because it's now in the way of content and wouldn't be very pleasing. So we're going to change that to the top right if we want to keep it there, or you can even just get it right to the top center and have something like that if you would like. So this is basically just your general background position and changing it that way. I really do love that you are able to change the image itself. So if you wanted to change it to a different icon, you just select it like any normal image and it will actually show and only on that device size. So even when we go down to mobile, it will still show our previous one because it was inheriting from what was set originally from the desktop. It was set to tablet, and so now we can set the mobile here if we would like for something different, but it's going to naturally inherit all of the stuff that had already been set. So let's go back to tablet. We can change this back. So now we have this here. So if we were to set this to default and this back to default, you can see that it's going to stay wherever the desktop had originally set it. So this is where that forethought and really thinking as you're designing and setting these up, where this is really helpful because you can kind of take care of all of these things in one big swoop as you're there. So let's go back onto desktop. So does anyone have any questions as far as that and changing images and positioning? No? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to move on to the 3-column layout here. This is a very popular option, having an icon, title, and some content. One of the problems, though, is that if you were to take this into tablet mode, you can see that it is quite tiny and very small, and it's just not very pleasing to the eye, and doesn't really give your website a lot of justice. So as you can tell, I have hidden this from tablet view. So I did that by just going to the intersection, which you were able to do as well, and advanced responsive, and that's where I hid it. So now it is hidden on tablet and mobile. So the only thing that will be shown is my alternate design option that I have, which is this below. So I did this using the Plus add-on, which is a premium add-on plugin, and this is called Carousel Anything. So does anyone have any questions or need some explanation on how to create templates? No, does everyone feel comfortable creating templates then? Awesome.
No,
Okay, so
I don't know how to create templates. Does
No?
everybody
Okay.
else know how? Oh, I feel stupid. Does everybody else know how?
No, you're not alone.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. I will run through this then. So what I did for this to make it a little easier on myself, and this is one of the other great things that I love about Elementor, is if you hover over on this intersection right here, you're going to right click, and a little dialog box comes up, and you select Save as Template. So if we save this here, it'll put this, and we can just say sliding boxes main, and we save that. And it will immediately go into your template repository here. So let me change screens real quick so you can see how we change this. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our new template scrolling boxes, and we select Edit with Elementor. And from here, what I do is I just right click the column itself and I delete it. And then I delete this one because we want just the one to show per slide because we don't want to overwhelm with 2 columns. You could do 2 columns if that's what you would prefer, but I had the preference of just doing the one. So that's what I'm going to do right here in this setting. And then basically just like what we did earlier, to save this template, we're going to right click and save this template. And we can go sliding box 1. And we save that. And just like previously, it's now in our themes repository. So when we go back into our demo over here, and we click our Carousel Anything, right here, we would create a slide, so we can just add a new slide. We can name it whatever we would like, so we're going to name it slide 5. And then this will be a list of all of your templates that you can choose from. So we can easily choose the one that we would like, and we can just select that template, and it will now be part of a slider.
I have another question.
Sure.
If you edit, first of all, templates are saved per site, or in a, if you have the Pro version, they're saved in like one cloud, so you could use one template to any site you're building, or they saved per site?
They are per site, but they are very easy to export and import.
Okay.
If you go back, let me switch again so I can show you the tab. Let's go back to our templates. And templates are really what are really great to utilize in a lot of dynamic ways. And I can show you a little more advanced version of that too later on. But if you hover over, you can see the export template here.
Okay.
So you can take that from, and I've done this where I've taken it from one site or even from a, there's a thing called Envato Elements, which is a free plugin, and it'll
Right.
give you a bunch of pre-made templates and things that you can import into your website. So if you had this here, you can easily just select import, and it's just like uploading and installing a plugin. It's just a nice clean zip file.
Thank you. The second half, I had the second half. Can I be fast? If you edit a template, does it update on the site everywhere you use it, or are they just not connected?
It really depends on how you place the template. So you can use, let me go back to my demo so I can show you how it can be used here.
You can also save an entire page as a template to use on another
Yeah.
site.
Yeah, so one of the options you can do, if you wanted to save the entire page, as Greg said, if you select this little button here, you can save the entire page as a template. So you get your little pop-up box here. If you were to go back to the library here, you can do template, and you can bring that over and then select it from there. And if you do it this way, if you edit the template within the template repository, it will display globally. If you were to just, let's say, go all the way to the bottom here, pull up your repository and insert it this way, it will not be global, just because it's not going to, it's saying that it's only on this page, and so it's going to go and think that it's supposed to be separate from there. So that's one thing that if you wanted to make sure that it's going to be shown, it's best to use the template feature that they have. Otherwise, you'll have to go in through every single page and change it that way.
Is that similar to using the template shortcode on a page? Just an easier way to get to it?
This here, the bottom file?
Yeah, where you're when you're bringing in a template into a page. I know you can insert the shortcode, but this is a quicker way to do that, right?
Yes, using the template here. You can also, like you said, use the short code that's available to the right of each template, and you can just copy and paste that in there. But a lot of people also like using this because you don't have to leave the screen and go back and forth, and it has all of the templates in your repository available. Did someone else have another question about templates?
Sorry, could you show us how to save and reuse templates globally again, such that all changes to the template are reflected in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way and the easiest way is going to be using the template feature that is in the template module that's available in Elementor. So when we go to the search bar here and we search for template, you want to select this and you drag it over just like you do any module. And then from here, you can search your actual template that you want to use. So it's basically, you want to avoid coming down here to just the template repository itself and inserting, because it's going to say that that is going to be separate from it, and it may have that one spot on there, but now you're going to have to add it to every single page, and it's just not as, it's a little bit more time consuming. So I would avoid trying to do that if possible. The easiest way is just to search for the template module, and then from there select under availability of your templates.
And if we do it that way, the way you just demonstrated under the template module, if we later go to the template and change the fonts and everything about the template, those changes will in fact be reflected everywhere the template is already in use?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, so this is a great way to make sure that everything stays consistent. And now if you actually have Elementor Pro, is just like a little aside here, if you have Elementor Pro, one of the things that they have is a theme builder. So it allows you to create templates that, for like a single page, specifically for the search feature, specifically for the 404 page. Maybe you want a very specific post in a certain category. So it really is very cool, the type of templates that you can create here. Let me just go ahead and show y'all what I mean by that, because I am a very visual person, so I'm sure some of y'all are as well, and I like to see things as I'm working on them. So let's go here. So this is the theme builder right here. So as you can see, we go under templates and theme builder. So if you were wanting to add a new template here, these are the different template types that you can choose. So you can choose a page, so it will do the entire page, the section, which is mainly what a lot of templates are using, pop-ups, which are also part of the Elementor Pro. You can do the header and footer, so they're all global, and then you can do a single page, or you can do archive. And archive is where you would do the page for the search results or something like that. So that's where that's what you would use for here. Or you can do for a 404 page. So some of the things that display options you have are pretty cool, and what you're able to do. So to say you want to come here to this Elementor footer, and we're going to look at some options we have here. If you come down to the bottom, where you would normally save as template, you have display conditions. And from here is where you get all of your dynamic display conditions that you can have. You can include or exclude. You can choose whether you want it to apply to the entire site, just your archives, or singular. If you choose singular, you look at all these options you have. You have the ability to do a direct child of the 404 page. If you have any custom post types, it will also show custom post types as well. And any posts in a category. So you have a lot of options of where you can apply these globally. So you don't necessarily have to go into every single page to apply these. Some of these you can do them within the template itself. Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions about templates? I know they're quite robust in what they can do. So I'm sure me just doing a light touching on it is probably not helping a whole lot, but maybe giving
on templates.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is how you can easily add this template here. If we wanted to have this carousel thing here, we have it where we're selecting the template on this way through the actual carousel, anything. You can also have a template display here if you wanted. So if you wanted to have the scrolling boxes, let's say you wanted to have it here, you can also apply it that way. Maybe if you want to have it on multiple different pages. So this is something that you can do here. So you have a couple of different options that you can play around with when it comes to templates and how you integrate them. So let's look at this on mobile because I want to show you how this works. So this is why I chose this. As you can tell, the difference between the tablet and the tablet natural version of how it is going to scale the 3 columns versus the rotation of this. It really just makes it so much more of a difference. You don't have a lot of bulk on the bottom part where people are having to scroll. The users can have the controls as to what they want to check out and look at, with the ability to change directions, or maybe they want to go back, they didn't learn enough about this, and you can have as many slides as you want. So this is great if you had a 9-column layout and wanted to have all of that there, but not wanting to have 9 columns stacked on top of each other in mobile. So let's check this out on mobile as well. So you can see here, it's a lot cleaner and easier to read and keeps it a little more consistent between the tablet and mobile side of it all. Awesome. So I'm going to continue moving on unless anyone has any other questions about that. I'm going to move on to our last section here, which is the navigation, saving the best for last. As you can see here, this is a fairly standard navigation layout. You have a top bar with some quick info and some links. You have maybe a call to action button and a social icon. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, you can see behind the login button that there's a little something there, and that is a hidden pop-up button. So let me explain a little bit more of that. Oh, sorry for the auto scroll, y'all. So as you can see, all of these now are faded out, so they will no longer be visible on the tablet. And what I did here is I added a button, just a good old-fashioned Elementor button. And this is where the really fun, cool part comes in if you have Elementor Pro. One of the things that they do is have dynamic conditions, and it really is super cool and easy to use. So I will show you how I set this up. So we're gonna basically create an off-canvas menu using a pop-up. So what we want is whenever someone is clicking on the button itself, it will do the off-canvas pop-up that I have created. So we're gonna do that by selecting dynamic. And we go all the way down to actions and then select pop-up. Now this isn't very intuitive, but if you select pop-up, these settings will drop down on it. And from here, you can change what you want to happen whenever someone selects this and what happens to the pop-up itself. So what we want to do is we want that pop-up to open. And then I have already created this template. So I am just gonna select this. And then we can, when you select here and you click the Find Us, a nice little fading from the left side pop-up comes up with the logo, all of the information that was in the top bar, the social icon, and now we were able to add a search feature as well. You have as much customization as you want with this. You can put pretty much anything that will fit in this area. You can adjust how wide this will be in your pop-up, what the overlay color will be, what the color will be for this. There's different animation styles. Maybe you want it to pop up from the left or from the top. So you have this ability to really change it up and kind of create a dynamic animation with it. But this is a very popular option that a lot of my clients have for an alternate to their top bar as far as responsive design. This is something that keeps it very clean. They're easy just to click it and still have all of the same info, but without it bogging down and overweighing everything else on the site. So this is one of my preferred options, and you can easily do this with the Elementor Pro. So does anyone have any questions about the pop-up button?
Can you show the pop-up in the template form just real quick? And
Yeah, absolutely.
that'd be great.
Let me pull it up real quick. Okay. Okay, so when you come here, you're gonna get to what you would normally see for like a new page on Elementor. Whenever you're creating, you have your standard little pop-up box of where it'll be here like the little dashed outline, and it has the ability to choose an Elementor section or choose from a template. So basically what it's doing is you can have different options here as to what you would like. And just like anything else, you can drag and drop whatever you would like to have over and just add whatever you would like as far as design that the Elementor has. But for pop-ups, because this is a little bit more complex, if you go down to the bottom left here, you see settings, and this is where you get to change all of the fun little bits here. So we can change this to be wider if we want, and we can also change it depending on the screen size, so how it will look on tablet, how it will look on mobile. So if we were here, we'd probably want to decrease it a little bit, so then that way it shows that this is just an off-canvas menu. Let's see, let's go back into desktop so we can see how this works. You have different ways that you can have it fit on the screen, even including custom. So if you want to be able to change the height yourself, you have the ability to, or maybe you want it to just be bottom aligned, all of the content within the column itself. You can also change how the position will be as far as on the screen. So if you would like to have it in the center, if you would like to have it right aligned, left aligned, you can even have it right here. This will be bottom, top, or middle. But I guess it's pulling from our content position here. Yeah, so there we go. So we're going to stick it back here. And right now I have that selected. So if we want to have an overlay, you can, or if you would prefer not to, you don't have to. You can also remove the close button. So then all the user would have to do is select outside of it to get it, the pop-up to go away. I personally like to just have the indicator there and make it very noticeable for people to have that ability to know that they can leave. Also, you can change the animation that enters and exits. So we can have it, maybe we want it to come downward, it will give you a little preview. And if you want it to fade out downward, and then it can go that way. So you have the option to decide how you would like to have it displayed in and out. You can even change the duration of how long you want that animation to be. And from here, you're just going to have your general stuff as to whether or not the it is published, pending, or draft. And you can also do some quick preview settings. So say you want to see what it would look like on a very specific page, you have that ability too. And then you go to style here, and it is all your normal styles that you have for pretty much any page builder or page that you normally have. You have your background colors and imagery. You also have your overlay colors. So let's say you want to keep it into a green theme. You could do that if you would like to make it really branded to your site. And you can adjust the opacity as to how much you would like by just going up and down here. And you even have a gradient option. So if you really wanted to be fun and modern with it, there's also that ability. And then you can also change the position and styling of the close button. So we can have it outside of the actual pop-up. So now it's off to the far right here on the overlay. Or you can have it on how it was originally inside the box. You can change, maybe you want it to be a little further down, closer to the content, or a little to the left. You can change the positioning here, as well as you can change the size. So you can get it as big or as small as you like, depending on whatever your preference is. You can even add a background image. So if we want it to be black and then the icon itself to be white, we can change that, as well as the hover settings. And then that is when you would update. And when you update a pop-up, kind of showing you those display rules that we had for the template. It's very similar, but also more advanced when you get into pop-up. So we have the display conditions. It'll usually open up the conditions first. So it's very similar to what we saw in the templates. We have the include, exclude, and everything. So we wanted this one, because I'm just doing this demo here, I wanted it only to display on the responsive design page. So this is where you may not need to use this as much for the pop-up button, but this is great for if you were creating a pop-up, just a general one to have on your website. So you can change whether you want it on the entire page, whether you want it just on a specific page. The triggers here are really cool. You can have certain ones that you want it to enact. So whether the person is about to exit and they can see that they're leaving the browser, you can have it where pop up then. Maybe you want to show them that after 10 minutes of inactivity, you want to say, hey, I'm going to start logging you out. You can create that pop-up. So as you can see, I have nothing here set because we are creating an off canvas button pop-up. We don't really need to apply any of these because we only want it to display whenever the user selects the button itself. So we don't really need to set any of these here, of these triggers, because we don't need anything automated from the pop-up itself. The advanced rules are also very, very cool. You can even change this here, whether you would like for it to display on different sizes and different devices, which is something that we definitely would want. So you can show that here. And I mean, all these different options that you can really change. I mean, from arriving from a specific URL, and you can show or hide that as well. So there's a lot of options and really cool dynamic features of Elementor. I know this could be a whole session in on itself of just pop-ups, but this is something that you can kind of get a little feel for how to create a simple off-canvas menu.
Lots of options. Good for contact forms too, if you want to pop them up, or a video or something like that. Doug, you had a question. Doug, you want to ask your question?
Sure. Thanks a lot. This is really helpful.
I noticed on my iPad that I have trouble with Elementor, and I'm just wondering, I've done a little bit of searching on that. I think other people do too. Have you heard anything about that? Are there any tricks of the trade when it comes to working on a tablet versus a desktop?
With using Elementor specifically?
Yes, right.
The responsive feature, utilizing their little ability to use that and see it in different tablets, and that is actually the best way. But if you're looking for like a specific size of a tablet or something, that's when you're going to have to use the old-fashioned media query way of CSS by creating the media query size of screen, like the min or max width, if you would like. As far as design, I feel like that's probably going to be the best way, is just to use this responsive design feature to let them show you how it would look on a tablet and a mobile.
I'm actually talking about if I want to edit a website, and just because it just seems like it's not very responsive, I have to really kind of work on scrolling down and things like that. It just feels like it freezes or something. So it's actually going in and dragging and dropping, widgets and things like that. I think it's meant to be designed on a desktop. I've tried it on my Android tablet, and it's kind of difficult. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood your question. Yeah, it's definitely meant to be used as far as designing on a desktop rather than from a tablet or mobile perspective. Just because the editor pane is just so large and they offer so many modules, and it does take up so much bandwidth to kind of get started and everything, because it does take a few minutes to load. It's just easier as far as you can tell that it's kind of designer based in that way more than developer based, that it's made to be very user friendly for someone to just drag and drop from there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the last thing I'm going to touch on before we end any other questions here, I'm going to just kind of discuss the navigation itself. So if I select here, the navigation, we're going to go in, we'll just stay in tablet mode for now. As you can see here, when I select it, you can select all the way at the bottom for mobile drop down, the different breakpoints. So this is basically when you want the hamburger navigation to start displaying. Do you want it to display just on mobile? Do you want it to display on tablet? Or if you're very simple website, maybe you just don't want to have any of it come on at the screen no matter what size it is. So you can have that option. So right here we have it selected as tablet. And as you see, these are the sizes here that were in the back end of the view breakpoint. So this is where you're going to know when it's starting, that it's starting at the 1025 width of the tablet. So that's going to be tablet landscape here. So we're going to have that right there. We're going to just have it selected. Now this one is very important. This to me, it's pretty much a given that I'm always going to select this one. If we unselect this and we click the menu, if you see, the navigation is going to stay in the column that it is positioned in. And now it's creating a weird space above and below the logo. So what we want to do is we want to create this as full width, because that's going to make it basically its own little section and away from the actual navigation itself, so that the user has a lot more space to use. Especially if you're like me and you have fat fingers, this is a godsend. You need to be able to have the ability to press the buttons instead of something itty bitty and tiny. So that's one of my I'm always going to have selected is a full width here. You also can change, so to say you want to have the text aligned in the center, or you want it to just be left aligned. This is where you would change this. So you can have it to be center or just aside. Unfortunately, these are the only two options you have. You don't have the option to right align. And as you can see, we're not able to change this per device. So that's one kind of downside that I'm not a big fan of, but you can easily override that over with some CSS on your own. You can also change what kind of icon you would like to have, whether you want it to be a hamburger or not, and then the toggle alignment here. So we could have it in the center, left, or right. Now, if you noticed, my menu didn't actually move, and that is because I did some CSS in the back to customize it to how I want. For a tablet, I want it to be right aligned here, but in mobile, I wanted it to be on top, right below the logo and on top of the content here. So this is just a personal preference of mine that I would like to have. You can easily just keep it where it would be right aligned. So it could be, this could be instead of 100%, we can change it to 50 and make this 50 as well. And it could stay right aligned if that's what you would like. Or you can go back to how I had it where it is stacked on top of each other as such. So how I did this right here, if we were to, let's go and preview. I will share my preview screen here. And I'm going to size this down. So as you can see, the navigation hamburger icon is on the right side. So it's still pulling from my settings that I had, but when I start going down into mobile sizing, it's going to be centered. And I can easily share this little snippet of code that I have. It's very, very simple. I can share that into the comments area of the meetup so that everyone can have access to that. And it's universal. It'll go for you know, anybody, any site's toggle button, so you can easily apply it to your site. So if we select this here, as you can see, we have all of our previous settings that were right there. Now let's go to style here and drop down. And you can tell that we have some couple different options here. We can change our horizontal padding. You can change your vertical padding, so you can tell how much spacing you would like. But the next very important thing here is this distance. This is what's going to determine how far away this drop-down navigation is going to be from the header itself. So you can adjust this to however you would like. So maybe you want to just have a little bit of the drop shadow to show here, and you want to kind of keep that separate to let it know that this is the navigation. You can set it a little bit below. If you go into tablet mode, you can see that it will default naturally to being kind of covering up some part of the section here. So we just want to take this and scroll it down to where we would like to keep it. So that is how you can keep the navigation from covering up certain areas. You can even apply it to basically however tall or long that you really need to have it, for whatever your preferences are. So if you come back here, it is back to our full width site. And that is my presentation and demo for using the responsive module. Does anyone else have any other questions that I can answer?
I have a question. Were you using any other plugins, tools, or things besides Elementor Pro? Did you have add-on packs or anything like that?
The only thing that I did as an add-on is at the very bottom, this scrolling feature. That was the only thing that I used, and that's the plus add-on.
I put that in the comment, so if you want to take that, find that link.
Yes, it's also available. It's one of like the Elementor approved add-ons. So if you go to the Elementor website and under, I think it's resources, you can easily see that add-ons, and that's one of them as well. I find the plus to be, you get a well worth your money for it. I think I paid, I want to say like $200 for unlimited websites and a year's worth of support. So, and they have a ton of features and modules that you can utilize. And I would highly recommend, if you're looking at an add-on that has a lot of options as far as design, that one's a really great one to get started with.
Do they offer a lot of dynamic content, such as in the slider?
I'm sorry?
Do they add dynamic content to their? Like
yes, that's built into Elementor Pro. So you can use that pretty much on anywhere. Also, Elementor, the dynamic conditions, like what I did for that little pop-up here button when we went into tablet or mobile mode, this right here, that little dynamic, this is available if you also if you're a big avid fan of advanced custom fields, it will actually have an advanced custom fields option, and you can select specific things to show for there. So this is great for creating if you have a custom post type and you want to make sure that everything, the user in the back end doesn't even have to touch Elementor, this is a great way to utilize that. And by doing templates and then using ACF, you can pretty much have it where your clients would never even have to worry about touching Elementor. They would just work on the back end of the page normally of whatever custom post type you've created. So it integrates really well with ACF if that's something that you're looking at, or if you're a big fan like I am of that. The dynamic conditions really help with it.
Opens up a lot of possibilities for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question. Hi, Al. Thank you. That was wonderful. Sometimes when I go into the phone mobile edits and stuff, it doesn't let me right click onto edits to edit the page. So I'm struggling with that. It won't let me do it. That's my only, and I'm working on a Mac, so I don't know why it's not letting me do that.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So when you are on, like, I'm in here on mobile mode, I'm viewing this, you're saying you're having trouble getting like the dialog box to show?
Yes.
Okay. That's quite odd because it usually does show for me.
You might
I
try
will
the
say that
navigator instead. That might be an option to select something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to grab things.
Yeah, the navigator has been a lifesaver because with yeah, if you come here, and there's a lot of times in Elementor where you're trying to do some overlay of certain sections, like maybe have a negative margin on top of another section. And sometimes it can be hard to select that section itself. And this really helps with that. So you can actually pinpoint the section, the column, and then from there you can expand what is in there, and it will show on the left-hand side what you need.
Excellent. That helps. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And also you can adjust this and move this to be out of your way, which is very helpful. Because I used to have the bad habit of exiting out because I like having a clean workspace, and then I was always having to bring it back up. So just know you can actually move this.
There's a hotkey for it too. I forget what it is.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a very basic question. When I am typing text now, I'm getting quite a bit of delay with the actual letters showing up on the screen, and it seems to get worse the longer I'm on that particular page. And if I'm using the add-on, it gets even worse. So I don't even know where to start to look for something on why that delay. And it gets very frustrating if you're typing along fast and then you're not sure where you ended, and you've got to wait for it to catch up with you.
Are you typing in the visual, or are you typing in the box on the left?
Well, it seems to be both.
Both? Yeah, sometimes if you're in the WYSIWYG, there's a slight delay, but on the left side under the properties, you shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, that's quite odd. If everything's updated, and the only thing I could think of is maybe if you had some sort of plugin that's installed that could be conflicting with that, because I haven't actually experienced that, so I don't know if it might be something that's already installed on your site, or
and check the plugins then.
Yeah, I would just do some basic debugging to see if that is something that you can
As
easily...
a guess, that sounds like it's local hardware related or the browser related. Try restarting your browser. or even restarting your computer, and you might find all those similar problems go away.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You might also want to try using another browser if you have two web browsers on there, so you can see if it's, you know, just happening in one browser or another. If it's
Okay.
like, for example, in Google Chrome, it's possible that you might have an extension of some kind in Google Chrome that's conflicting with it.
Okay. Good suggestion. Thank you.
Karen, I've actually experienced a similar problem, not in Elementor, using something else. And it looked like it was Google Chrome, because when I started using Microsoft Edge during that time, I didn't have as many problems.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that the new version of Edge?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
Awesome.
Kaya? Oh,
yes.
Phone's ringing here. Hold on. I had a question. Hopefully that's going to go off. Earlier in your presentation, you were doing some work in the advanced section. It was interesting. You had two kind of things going, but you clicked on something and then you went right into advanced. This is probably really simple, but I didn't know that you could do that. Do you remember that part of it? I was just kind of curious if you could show that one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all. Let me share right here. Okay, so let me go back into desktop mode so we have a little more space. So if you, let's say we're trying to discuss column settings or whatnot, pretty much the responsive features are always going to be under the advanced tab. So if you click on the section itself, these little dots, and then off to the left, you have three tabs here. You have the layout, the style, and the advanced. And the responsive styles are always going to be under advanced. And so from here, you can kind of adjust things. So we'll expand the responsive, because and that's where you can see everything for the section. You can pretty much just do this for a section, intersection, column, and for most individual items, for pretty much an image or text or a button. Certain things, like even one of the add-ons for the plus that I use for the carousel anything, you can even, that also has the ability to have display rules. So you could have different rules show specific things, whether someone's logged in or a browser they're using. So this is where you would kind of get to all of the really fun developer show hide bits here. So this is where you would go to the responsive area. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it was just, I just didn't even know you could, whenever I clicked advanced, I always thought I was just dealing with that. I didn't know, I wasn't putting two and two together with the actual column that you're working with. I don't know. Design is kind of my big challenge, so this is really helpful just to get
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is like where you get to do a lot of other really fun stuff. So you can even do custom CSS, and a lot of the Elementor Pro has a lot of motion effects as well. And so that's where you can apply this, or a sticky element. So this is where it kind of gets into the fun little bits here, where you're going to do more advanced features as far as animation and stuff. And responsive is pretty much always going to be under the advanced tab.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome.
Anyone else? Any questions about Elementor in general, other than what she covered? I know we have several people that are pretty familiar with Elementor here as well.
Yeah, I've been working with Elementor for about over 2 years now, and I've built about, I would say, 20 plus websites with Elementor, because as soon as I grabbed a hold of it, I just ran with it. So it's been like my go-to ever since I found out about it. It's been awesome.
Everyone
So if you have any questions,
love it, yeah.
great. Yeah. Yes, please feel free to visit my website, kayavon.com. If you would like to contact me through there, or if you just kind of want to see some of what I've done with Elementor websites, you can definitely check it out there. I have my portfolio. So if you need a little design inspiration, you can definitely go there.
Thank you so much, Kaya. It was very, very good. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate y'all having me.
Thank you.
Anyone that have ideas for the next meeting, please let me know. Still up in the air on that.
Thank you, Kaya. That was awesome.
You're
It
very
was great.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very
Yeah,
helpful.
this is wonderful, Greg and Kaya. Thank you so much.
If you want to save the chat, I don't know if you know how to do that. At the bottom right, there's the 3 dots. You can click that and they'll save your chat information. Some of the links we provided. Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
you,
Great
everyone.
idea.
Both.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kate.
Glad we're doing these.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for hosting these. Glad we're doing them. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate being included. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Kaya.
Thanks to the both of you.
You're the host,
Keep it
Kaya,
much
so you need to be on the meeting.
Oh, I gotta stop. Okay, sorry.
I should have made you just co-host, but I think it wasn't working for some reason.
Awesome. Wow, that was a great turnout, though. I was.
Yeah. We got half the
About
people. That's
20.
pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah.
23 at the high point. I think most everyone stuck with us through the whole thing, which was good.
Yeah, I know that it was a lot to cover, so I was worried that I was gonna be throwing too much at people because I heard a lot of 1s and 2s as far as experience, and I was like, uh-oh.
We kept everyone engaged, which was good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I really appreciate it. It gave me a confidence boost, so
No
thank
problem.
you.
I'll post the video too. I have that recorded, and I'll stop that.